Here I am. Here I am, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, how's everyone doing? Good to see you all here. I hope you're all having a great week so far. Hey, how you doing, brother? Good to see you, Derek. Disable and prepping in the house. Pio Next in the house. Mojo, Potato Head, Renab. How you doing? Good to see you all. Cindy. Who else do we have in the house? Baby Root is in the house as always. Colorado Pack Rat Prepper in the house as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to cover today, and this is something that we've all been hearing about the Iran war, what's going on with that. I've done videos on what I feel the later on effects are going to be on what's going on right now. As I mentioned, if you watched yesterday's video, and I think Monday's video, I was talking about actionable intel, which is what I like to talk about things that are going on now that can affect our lives, maybe not right now or tomorrow, but in 3, 6, 9 months, and even beyond that. That's what we have to prepare for, because we're hoping that you're already prepared for what's going on right now. And so something that I really, haven't heard too many people talk about, actually, maybe there's some people out there talking about it, but I just haven't heard it, is about the attacks that are going to occur within the United States, but not necessarily kinetic. I've talked about sleeper cells in the past, and with how so many people got through our southern and also northern border in the main part of the United States, not here in Alaska, but in the lower 48s, as we like to call it, that were not vetted, or whom we don't even know who they were, that there are sleeper cells within our nation. But those attacks that the sleeper cells are here to conduct are not necessarily kinetic attacks, meaning that they're going to go out there and actually physically hurt people. In all honesty, I think that those attacks would not be as pronounced as other attacks, which the government has tracked and is also warning people about other attacks. And what are those? Those are cyber attacks, ladies and gentlemen. And when people hear about cyber attacks, they think, oh, they're going to turn off the computers, or they're going to mess with the internet. But no, it covers a whole bunch of other stuff. And I actually went ahead and made a little list of a lot of the things that our own government is trying, or hopefully prepared for, just in case these sleeper cells within or outside of the border can go ahead and actually, unleash upon us. So I wanted to go ahead and share some of these with you. And let me see real quick. Is that even coming up? Okay. So I wanted to go ahead and share some of these with you. That way you can be informed. Because a cyber attack, for example, let's just say that, first of all, almost everything we do in everyday life has something to do with the internet, right? And almost all of the infrastructure out there that we rely on has something to do with the internet. But I don't want to just say that because it's what I think. I wanted to go ahead and relay it to you in a manner in which the US government itself is saying, hey, these are the areas that we really need to protect, because they are the most vulnerable to some kind of a cyber attack from, I would call them cyber sleeper cells, right? I just came up with that name. So these are some of the things that you can look at in your preps to see if you are ready in case one of these systems that we rely on an everyday basis goes down, either for a short period of time or for a prolonged period of time. So that's what I want to talk about today. And then, you know what? After I do my spiel, like I like to call it, we'll go ahead and do a little back and forth, and hopefully we can do a little bit of chit chat for a while before I have to sign off. So let me see. Let me bring it to the bottom and just say hello real quick to a couple more of you. And you know what? Before we start, I wanted to share with you Nutrient Survival, Becky actually gave me a call today and said, hey, you're going to be the first one that gives out this deal that Nutrient Survival is giving. And it's a great deal. And I can tell that many of you took advantage of the sale that they were having on egg powder and Amazon, because it's already sold out. So it's all gone. It was only while supplies lasted. But this deal that they're putting out there is going to be, in my opinion, just as good. I'll let you know about that. But let me say hello to Miss Escobar. How are you doing? Let's see who else is here. Randy Brown is in the house. OBX Dewey, how are you doing? Thank you, OBX. And Sleeping Bear is in the house also. Laura is here. Satoshi, what's happening, Satoshi? Charity, how are you doing? Sharon is here. How you doing, Sharon? Good to see you. Who else is in the house? Okay, Snow Leo is in the house. How's everyone doing? I'm really happy to see you all. I hope you're all having a great week. So let me go ahead and show you all real quick. Let me see if I can even do this. I don't even know if I can do this, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just see. Let me see. You know what? Let's go ahead and share this first. So this right here are some of the critical infrastructures that many people don't really think about, you know, when in everyday life. It's like things that we take for granted. So I went ahead and pulled this up, and there are 16 critical infrastructure sectors that are vulnerable to cyber attacks. And these systems all rely on the internet. So many of you may not know, but without the internet, let's say, for example, supermarkets would probably shut down at first because they rely on the internet, by which the system that they use in order to restock their shelves rely heavily on the internet. But this right here is just a few that we're going to go over, but I think that these are the most critical. So, excuse me, energy and utilities, the electrical grid, oil and natural gas pipelines, and power generation plants are primary targets for disruption and economic pressure. And they are the primary targets of who? Of sabotageurs, people that want to sabotage them because they don't have the best interests of the United States in mind, meaning that they want to hurt the U.S. Now, what would be more effective in your opinion? Let's see. What do you think would be more effective in your opinion? One person that goes out there and is the lone wolf and tries to use a firearm, you know, to take people's lives in the town square or a mall or whatever, or someone, just one person that's sitting at a computer that can mess up all of the water for an entire state, or maybe even poison the water by getting into the systems via a computer and adding more chemicals of this or that type that can poison the water. You know, so they can definitely use this to their advantage and get more, I guess, get more bang for your clicks. What in the world was that? Oh, goodness. I know what just happened. I heard a big noise. It was snow falling off the roof. I was like, what in the world was that? I thought maybe we were having an earthquake, but it must be a big slab of snow that just fell off the roof. Well, there should be no one there, so everyone should be all right. So it would be more effective. They would get more bang. I'm going to say bang for their buck, for lack of a better word. They would get more bang for their buck by using someone to go through a computer and disrupt an entire state's or community's water system, instead of just one person going out there and going at it until the cops get there and take their lives. So it's very important that we have backups for these systems. I've often stated in the past, and for those of you that are OGs here, you've probably heard me say that preparedness it's a way of being able to maintain your standard of living, of course, right? So if you eat this or if you use that, you want to make sure that you have this stocked up in case you can't get it. Man, am I losing my, I'm getting old, ladies and gentlemen. I'm getting old, but it's also a way of being, preparedness is also a thing that you use in order to have like a miniature infrastructure for those that you depend on. So for example, if you depend on the electric infrastructure, what do you do when the electricity goes out? Do you have a backup for that? So you want to be prepared for all of the infrastructures that you depend on a personal basis, in order that if that infrastructure, in this case, the energy grid, the electricity grid goes down, you have a backup for that. So we have a water infrastructure, right? So you want to have a backup for water in case the water infrastructure that you depend on and take for granted every day, except for when you have to pay that water bill, because it keeps getting more and more expensive every 2 or 3 months, however long it is that you pay it. But I digress. So if you depend on the water infrastructure where you live, you want to have a backup for that infrastructure in case it should go down. Same thing with supermarkets. Supermarkets have their own infrastructure. They have their own system of which they have to operate in order so that they can be efficient and be able to serve all of the people that they actually serve. So infrastructures that we depend on are those things that we also want to make sure that we have backups for, right? So it would be a lot more cost effective for someone that wants to terrorize a nation to do it through a computer and be able to shut down an entire grid than for them to go out there and try to take away X number of lives by going to a mall or a school or something like that. I'm not saying that they won't do either or, but I think the one that's the most effective is the one that they're going to go with, because that's what terrorizing people is trying to make sure that you disrupt their lives as much as possible and get them as scared as possible, so that then the people can start turning on each other and their governments. So what's this other one here? This actually has a lot of good information that I was able to pull out of it. So we have energy and utilities, okay? Water and wastewater, same thing. I just talked about that. They can use a computer to get into a utilities system and put stuff in the water that is going to poison the people. So treatment facilities and distribution networks often use programmable logic controllers that can be manipulated to change water chemical levels or shut off the supply. So are you prepared for that? Healthcare. I don't think this one is that pertinent at first, unless it lasts for a really long time. Hospitals and medical record systems are frequently hit with ransomware, delaying patient care and exposing sensitive data. Well, you see, if they take care of the water system or the water utilities and the energy utilities first, then I don't think that they would bother messing around with data in a healthcare system, unless they're doing some kind of a phishing exercise where they're wanting to get as much data on as many people as possible so that they can mess around with their lives. But here's another one, transportation. I mean, we all know about this with this fuel crisis that's going on, and airplanes having to be grounded because there's not enough fuel for them, etc. Air traffic control, they depend on the internet as well. Maritime ports, guess what? They depend on the internet. Railway signaling systems rely on digital communication that can be jammed or spoofed. Financial services, all they have to do is get in there and hack. Maybe they hack the Federal Reserve. If they hack the Federal Reserve, that would pretty much shut down all the banks, because they wouldn't be able to utilize the system SWIFT, which is what we use in the Western, in the Western nations, in order to move money around internationally. But here they say financial services, banking networks, and stock exchanges are targeted for theft or to undermine public confidence in the economy. So these are things that we want to think about also when preparedness, in addition to all of those basic things that we need in order to live our everyday lives. All right. So that's what I wanted to cover today, because I haven't really heard anyone talk about sleeper cell attacks other than like attacks on the street. But this is a different kind of attack that, in my opinion, would be a lot more effective than someone going out in the street with a rifle or something like that. But then again, ladies and gentlemen, remember that you have to be prepared for that as well. So if you don't utilize your Second Amendment, make sure that you become familiar with it, all right? And that you do utilize it, because you just never know. It's one of those things that you are glad to have it in case you need it, but you hope and you wish that you never ever have to use it. But if you do, you're going to be happy that you do have it. Okay. Voodoo Queen is in the house. How you doing, Voodoo Queen? East Texas is in the house. Say hello to Bucky's for me. Let's see. Sylvia Dragon, how you doing? Mitch is in the house. Good evening to you. Salty Dog is hanging out today also. Our life off grid. Hello. Good evening. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I don't even watch the news anymore. That's all it is. I know this is a channel about preparedness, and there's only so many ways that you can show people how to put away rice and beans. If you get my drift, I try to come up with some new things every now and then that I think up that I'm like, hey, that's a good idea. This is something that we definitely should be doing, or this is a different twist on something that we do, but it's, in my opinion, a little bit better. But in the news, all they want from you, ladies and gentlemen, is to consume what they're telling you and to take it as gospel. That's pretty much what the mainstream media wants. And it's one of the reasons why I know that like YouTube and all other social media platforms is like a love-hate relationship. It's like social media is destroying, the world. It's destroying this generation. But in a way, I'm glad that we have it, because it puts people out there that can give you their perspective instead of the entire country following the perspective of just 5 or 6 different major news outlets. Yeah, actually, the snow is starting to melt. I think right now it's about 44, 45 degrees outside. And like I said, I heard some snow fall off the roof. So we are headed into spring. The snow should be off the ground and melted away probably by mid-May. I would say within the next month, we'll be snow-free, which is great, because last year, the snow didn't melt off the ground till like late May. I think it was late May, or maybe even the first few days of June. We actually still had snow on the ground. So the sunny days are coming, and they're actually pretty much here for about 10, 12 hours a day now. But we'll get to the 24 hours of sun a day here pretty soon. Yeah, here Randy says Southwest cities, water shipped through pipelines. And, these are the things, ladies and gentlemen, that you have to tailor to where you live and to your lifestyle, to your standard of living. Can you do rain catchment where you live? Can you store water in parts of your house? One thing that I've always said is, if I ever own a garage, if I ever own a house with like a garage, I would actually use up one car space to put like a 2,000-gallon water container in there, a water tank in there. Because 2,000 gallons, if you use what you need to survive on a daily basis, will last you a very, very long time. And that's something that I would have done, but I don't. Forrest is in the house. How you doing? Warrior 2, how you doing? Nostradamus, how you doing? Let's see. PMG, how you doing? Good to see you. Who is this? Domini Bacano. How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you very much for joining in, ladies and gentlemen. I normally don't do live streams this late, but the last time I did one like at 5 o'clock, it turned out well. So I figured I'd give it another try, see how you all doing. Okay. Let me see. Domini Banco says Alpha Omega Gold. That's the sponsor of this channel. I don't know what you're trying to say by that. I hope it's something good. I haven't heard anything bad from them yet. I've actually had people contact me and told me that they had a good experience with them. So if you all want me to talk about gold and silver, you let me know. Okay, you let me know. Put gold and silver. We can talk about it if you want. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I mean, the skies have been sprayed for years. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I think we all know enough. I think we all know that it doesn't matter who's in office. It doesn't matter who the president is. For whatever reason, we can sit here and speculate why. I can tell you, it doesn't matter who the president is. Our food is still being poisoned. We're still being stolen from via the Federal Reserve and the debt system by which we're governed. All right. They're still telling us lies about everything. They're still not putting the people in jail that should be going to jail. They're still not disclosing the things that we want them to disclose. They're still not doing the things that we want them to do, that we put them in office to do. And, I'll go back to the same old story. It all comes down to one thing. It all comes down to the monetary system. The monetary system that we have allows the government to do whatever they want, because anything at all that the government does requires money, right? It requires energy. And when they have a monetary system by which they can print and make whatever amount of money, and I'm calling it money, even though it's fiat currency, but this is what most people know about. When a government has a system that allows them to create whatever amount of money they want, they can do anything, because they do it without our permission, because they do it through inflation, which most people in this country and probably the world don't even know what real inflation is. You ask 10 people in the street, and more than likely 9.5 or close to 10, if you average it out, will tell you, oh, inflation is when the price of things goes up. Most people don't even know what that is, right? So things are not going to change, in my opinion, until we enter into a monetary system that is fair, a monetary system that is based on real assets, not on fake money that is being used in order to extort your wealth or the wealth of the citizenry. That's what it comes down to. And the reason I say that is because you are not going to work for free. Don't tell me that you're going to go work for free. And if you're one of those lucky people that are in a place in your life where you can volunteer and work for free, trust me, I'm pretty sure you didn't work for free your whole life. You probably did something, or your partner did something in order for you to be in a position to be able to work for free. But the majority of the people will not work for free. The people in the government will not work for free. All right. Look at what Rome had to do towards the end when they were debasing their currency more and more and more. They had to pay their soldiers more and more and more in order to be able to keep them. And I just read an article. I think this was in the story that I put out yesterday on yesterday's video, where one of the things that they introduced into the budget, the $1.5 trillion defense budget, was a raise of 5 to 7% for the military. Now, do I believe that they deserve that? Absolutely. They absolutely do. They should get a big jump in increase in pay. They should get like a 20-30% jump increase in pay one time, and then go back to keeping up with inflation. Not the inflation numbers that they tell us, but real inflation, right? But you see that they have to pay them more money in order for them to be able to say, yes, it's worth it for me, because no one's going to work for free. And that's why I say that the government, as long as they have the power of the printing, of the money printing, they will have control over the people. Because whenever a government controls a fiat currency, it is the government that has the control over the people. However, whenever the currency or the money of a nation is real money based on gold, silver, real tangible assets, it is we, the people, that have the power over the government, because we are able to say, hey, this is all you got. This is all you can spend. But now it doesn't matter how much the citizenry is taxed. The government spends whatever it wants to spend, and then uses the excuse of, well, we never have to pay back the debt, without giving the people the understanding that the higher that the debt gets, the more enslaved we are. Because the higher that the debt gets, the more that we are going to have to pay in taxes, either direct taxes or via inflation, in order to pay the interest on that debt. So all we are doing is we are putting, by allowing this debt to get bigger, all we are doing is guaranteeing the bondage of the next generations to come. So like I said, until this monetary system is changed into one that is fair and honest, and based on real assets like what God gave us, gold and silver, something that's fair, something that doesn't change with time, it stays exactly the same, then we're going to continue to have crisis after crisis after crisis. All right, ladies and gentlemen, because the worst thing that the government wants as far as the economy goes is what's called stagflation, which is a combination of inflation and high unemployment rates. That's the worst thing the government wants. They don't want deflation. So stagflation is, stagflation is not inflation, it's deflation and high unemployment numbers. They don't want deflation because the more deflation that there is, the more that your dollars can buy you, the less that they can collect in taxes. And therefore, the more that they will have to print. So it's a catch-22. It's like a snake eating its own tail. Let's see. It was 80 degrees in St. Louis. Isn't that something? If it hits 80 degrees over here, ladies and gentlemen, the Walmarts and the Lowe's and the Home Depots get wiped out of any air conditioners that they may have. Oh, tell me about it. Spam is really expensive. I was at Walmart getting Michael some popsicles the other day again, and I think over there a can of Spam, just a regular, let me see, where are they? Just a regular 12-ounce can of Spam was like $4.50 or something like that. Excuse me. And I do believe that Costco, I think it's the, correct me if I'm wrong, ladies and gentlemen, at Costco, you get a 6-pack. Is it an 8-pack that you get at Costco? I forgot what it is, but it's like $26 now, where before that same pack that they sell used to be like $15 or something like that, and now it's like $26. And I mean, I was flabbergasted when I was just walking up and down the aisles just to check it out and spend a little time there. But I saw that the olive oil that I use, that extra virgin olive oil that comes from Italy, I believe, where it used to be like $15-16, and I thought that was expensive just a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. Now it's almost $31 for the exact same olive oil. So things only have one way to go. Okay, things only have one way to go. You should know this by now. If you've been, living in the real world in the last 5 to 10 years, I would say, you should already know that things only have one way to go as far as prices. And that the things that you get today is pretty much guaranteed that you're going to end up paying a lot more for it a year or two or even more down the line. Now, that's not saying that some things have not gotten a little bit less expensive, but I'm going to go ahead and explain to you why it is that some staple items have become a little less expensive, even though there are shortages around the world. So let's take rice, for example. I was at Costco and I noticed that, excuse me, I'm going to take my jacket off. It's getting a little warm in here. I was at Costco and I noticed that the 50-pound bag of Calrose rice was like $30, $32, which is a little bit cheaper than what it was, like, let's say, during the middle of the COVID years, right? I believe back then it got up as high as like 37 or $38, something like that, right? So I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, in the world right now, there is like a shortage of rice because a lot of countries last year had a really bad harvest for rice, a lot of the main rice producing countries. Now, I do understand that here in the US, we produce a lot of rice. I think that the top 2 states that produce rice or that grow rice here in the US, I believe the top one is Alabama. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that the top one is Alabama. And then I believe that the second highest, I believe, is California. Let me know if I'm right in the comments if you want to check me on that. Yeah, it is a 6-pack, right? 6-pack for $8.99. You remember that? And then it went up to like $12-15, and now it's like $26. But anyways, getting back to the rice. So I take a look at this rice and it's like $32, which is a little bit cheaper. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what happens is this: you're still buying, if you're buying that rice for $32, let's say, right? And it used to be more expensive and you're like, oh, it's a little bit cheaper now. It really isn't, in a way, because one of the ways that governments get to bring down the price of foods is by subsidizing those foods. So they subsidize the food in one way or another. They either do it through the companies that are packaging the stuff, or by subsidizing the farmers so that the price of rice can be a little less, etc. But how do they get the money to subsidize that food product? They print it out of thin air, because that's the only way that they can get it. The only way that the government can get any kind of money to give out aid to any country or to anyone here in the US, the only way that they can get money to for the Defense Department, the only way that they can get money for the interest on the debt is pretty much to borrow it. All right? Because almost every penny that we collect in tax goes, believe it or not, into social programs: Medicare, Medicaid, welfare, SNAP, Social Security. Even though Social Security, in my opinion, is not an entitlement, it is a benefit that is owed to those people that paid into it, but it's still a social program. That's what it was started as. So pretty much almost all of the money, the $4.5–5 trillion that the US government collects in taxes from the people directly, right, it uses for social programs. Then everything else, all of the aid, all of the, the green crap that they were doing here years ago, the military, all of those things, ladies and gentlemen, that money, we have to borrow that money. Okay, so when you have to borrow money, even if it's to do a subsidy so that people can pay a little less money, you're still creating inflation. You're still creating that money, for the most part, out of thin air, which is broadening the money supply, which means that sooner or later, you may be paying a couple dollars less for that rice today, but sooner or later, that inflation that they created in order for you to pay that lower price will end up peeking its ugly head, because it has nowhere else to go, right? So even though we think that some prices may be going down a little bit, in all actuality, we're just getting a bit of a respite for that certain item. And then later on down the road, that inflation will show up and you'll end up paying it not once or twice, but for the rest of your life in the form of interest towards the national debt. All right. So let me do something really quick. Let me see if I can get this real quick here. Let's see, real. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get this. I'm working on a project. And if you have any questions about anything, put it all in caps. Okay, that way I can make sure that I can catch it, because I'm going to be just going back and forth with you here in a minute. But first I have to get this here done. Boom, boom. Okay, here we go. Almost. Okay. Live stream. Today is the 9th of April. You know, that's funny, because April, May, June, 2 more months and we're already halfway through this year. Incredible. All right. How long, let's see, how long does the Mega 2 hold a full charge? Virginia Sorensen asks. So any of the OUPES products, if you fully charge them, they recommend that at a minimum every 90 days to 6 months, that if you haven't used it, that you plug it into a wall socket. That way the battery will stay conditioned. But I would say that if you have it turned off, let me see. I've got my Mega 5 right here next to me. Now, I can't show it to you because, you know, I have a stationary camera, but I haven't turned it on in a while. I'm going to turn it on right now. I haven't turned it on in probably about a month or so, but about every 3 months or so, I turn it on to make sure that the batteries get conditioned. You want to do that because it's going to protect your battery. And it's sitting at 100%. I haven't turned it on in about, I don't know, a month or two. or so. The last time that I actually did turn it on was just to recondition the battery by plugging it into an outlet, and that will allow your battery to last a lot longer. So they recommend that you do that. So I would say that any OUPES product that you have, if you have it fully charged and you have it turned off and you don't use it for a long time, the battery should be pretty much at 100%. Okay. So make sure though that you put it on the charger. I would say every 3 months or so. I do it like every 2 to 3 months. I just plug it in. I let it plugged in for about an hour or so, even though it's showing 100%, to make sure that the battery health stays up. Vicky says, do you know anything about a draft? So I did read that there is the NDAA, I believe, the National Defense Authorization Act or something like that, that they snuck in something about the draft where it's going to be automatic instead of 18-year-olds having to go and register at the post office for the draft within 30 days after their birth date, their 18th birthday. That is they're going to turn it to where it's automatic. All right. Now, have I heard anything about them seeing about drafting people for whatever may happen here? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I hope it doesn't come to that. And if it does come to that, we are going to be in a bad way. Not only will we be in a bad way because we're going to be sending our service members, our boys and girls, into harm's way for something that I believe that a lot of Americans, it doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not, what's going on. Okay. It's like I've stated before, I can argue both sides of this thing that's going on with Iran. I can sit here and argue it with you, one side or another. I can pick one or another and I can argue it, making a very good argument. In the end, what it comes down to, I think that it comes down to America first. But, here am I, send me, right? Somebody's got to do it. That's one of the sides of the argument. The other argument is, why are we doing it? I hope it doesn't come down to that. And all we can do is pray that it doesn't come down to that. I believe that if we have to put boots on ground over there in Iran, that we will have lost the initiative and that it will be another quagmire. Unless they have some super duper secretive weapons that nobody knows about, that they can eliminate people, whatever, it will be another quagmire. And it will be a terrible legacy for Trump to make for himself if he does something like that. Remember, this was supposed to only last 4 days and then 2 weeks. And here we're going on what, like day 40 or something like that. Now, I understand things happen, but this is not something that I think that America is ready for. As a matter of fact, I know America's not ready for this. They have to make a good stance when they talk about it in press conferences and in the news, saying how great everything is and all that kind of stuff. But, one of the secondary effects to what we have been doing here for the last month is we've been depleting our ammunition stockpile. These missiles that we've been using, I think we've done about 15,000 or 12,000 missile strikes. Where are those coming from? Missiles don't grow on trees. They have to be manufactured. And missiles take a lot of rare earth minerals to produce, of which we don't mine and process and refine here in the U.S. Almost all of the rare earth minerals and metals that we get imported. Right. And I honestly believe that if we did have a situation where we put boots on ground, I don't think that our allies will be there to have our back. I just don't think that they will. I mean, have they been there yet? If they have, I don't know of anyone that has. And if they have, it would probably be at a very small capacity. So let's just hope and pray that it doesn't happen. Let's see. I'm just taking a look to make sure. What is 40% of all rice in America? Let that sink in. Are you talking about that? That's grown in Alabama? I'm not sure if that's what you're talking. Or at Arkansas. It's Arkansas that produces most of the rice, then, right? Okay. I knew it started with an A. If that's what I'm getting, I'm just picking up a little bit here and there. Lily Bishop, how you doing? Oh, hey, thank you very much for the super chat. And let me see. I'm sorry that I waited so long to say thank you. I just noticed it. Hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much. It's very likely KRAGWD, Craig WD, maybe. It's very likely. It's very likely that there will be a very low participation rate, and that a lot of people would be willing to pay what I think it's a $250,000 fine, and or up to 5 years in jail or something like that. It's very likely. I have never heard of grapevine water. Hey, Sylvia, one of these days when Victor's here while I'm doing a live stream, I'll have him come in and talk to you all. What are you talking about pretending to have a Russian accent? That's his real accent, Sylvia. He's my adopted Russian son. Okay, that's why his name is Victor. Oh, thank you guys. Let's see. Okay, let's see. We have another question. Man, we've already been on for 42 minutes. You know what? Maybe we'll make it a marathon today. Okay, who knows? How do you get gas masks? I want one, but if I order one online, how do you know it fits or if it's good? A good question. So pretty much what I did, those are actually gas masks that I got from Amazon, and they were actually at a really, really, I'll say it one more time, really great price. Okay, those I think they were like less than 30 bucks a piece, and they each came with a CBRN filter and also a VO2 filter on the sides that you can use for like chemicals, if you're painting or something like that, or dust. And then it's got a CBRN filter that you can use for a chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, right? And they weren't that expensive. And the CBRN filters are actually not that bad. They're like 10 bucks a piece if you want to get them. But I got them on Amazon. And just what I would do is what I did is I ordered the large because I have a big face, and they fit me just fine. But I would say order the ones that you believe will fit you. They do have a little diagram that you can look at and have a good guesstimate as to what size you need. And worst case scenario is that if it's not the right size, just send it back. If you want, you can buy like one, and then if it fits you well and you want to get another one, then get another one. But yeah, those things work really well. I mean, I've never had to use them actually, right? But even with the beard, they still seal really well. And usually gas masks don't seal very well if you have a beard. But even with my beard, they were able to seal really well. Let's see. Someone asked me, what do you think of the digital currency that they will be rolling out? I'll tell you what, I think a lot about that. But let me see if I can get this real quick. Video file. Today is the 9th, okay. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, really quick, I should have done this towards the beginning of the live stream, but I'm going to do it now anyways. If you all missed out on the sale that Nutrient Survival had with their powdered eggs on Amazon, that was the only time you were ever going to be able to get those eggs at that price. It was like 39 bucks, and that's like really cheap for powdered eggs, especially of the quality that Nutrient Survival puts out. But Becky called me and said, hey, we're going to start this sale, and it's going to be your community first. So I think there's a limit of like 250 or so. All right. But it's a great deal. And right now they have, if you buy, I also have to talk about OUPES. And this is not a sponsored live stream. It's just that I looked at each of the main affiliates that I have, and they're all having great sales. Nutrient Survival actually contacted me, but then I was like, let me take a look at OUPES and SIMPURE, see what they're doing. They're having very, very good sales. But if you remember, the can of eggs that was on sale on Amazon was $39.99, I believe, $40, which is a great deal. And they're all gone. Those are all gone. It was just a limited quantity that they had to get rid of because they put the wrong price on it by mistake. And you know, whoever took advantage of that, good for you. But Becky gave me a call and said, hey, check this out. We have a sale and you're the one that's going to get it first. So whoever gets this, it's up to like 250 units, and then whoever doesn't. It is what it is. But if you buy one can of eggs, you get a can of milk powder for free. And I think that's a great deal because the can of eggs regular price is $65. But even if you would have bought the eggs at the super sale price that they had on Amazon, it would have still been $40. And I believe that a can of milk is a little more than $25. So you're still saving a pretty good amount of money by taking advantage of this. All right. So if you're new to nutrient survival, you've never heard of it, go check out my link, go to the site and check it out. Nutrient Survival is a very unique long-term food storage company that provides freeze-dried foods that have all of the micronutrients that you need. It doesn't just have the macros like calories, fats, and carbohydrates, and then maybe a little bit of vitamin D, like almost all of the other freeze-dried foods out there. It has all of the micros that you need, right? So instead of eating empty calories, as I like to call it, you're eating calories that are actually providing you the nutrition that you need. And it lasts 25 years on the shelf. So go check that out. The link is always in the description of all of my videos. And by the way, again, for those of you that are new to nutrient survival, they're the very best in freeze-dried foods that there is, period. There's no one better. And let's see, also, OUPES, I was checking their channel out, and they're having a great sale. So this Mega 2 is a great deal. It's like almost 50% off, if not 50% off, $650 for a Mega 2. And it comes with a 2,048 watt hours of storable power, which is great. This Mega 2 will power my refrigerator probably for about 2 days, but I do have a very efficient refrigerator freezer, right? So it depends on how much power your refrigerator or your refrigerator freezer combo consumes. That will power my refrigerator freezer for probably about 2 days, all right? And then what's good about the Mega 2 is that you can add batteries to it to increase the amount of storable energy that you have. And they also have a great deal right now on their Mega 1, and I saw that they have an awesome deal on their Mega 5 as well. So OUPES right now has some really good deals going on. They're coming out with a new product that they want me to take a look at, and hopefully it's on its way. And lastly, this is the last one I'm going to show, is SIMPURE. If you do not have an RO system, a reverse osmosis system, I would recommend that you consider getting one. And SIMPURE right now is having an awesome deal, $200 off of this countertop, which means that it's just plug and play. You don't have to plumb it under your sink or anything like that. And right now, this countertop, which is usually like almost $400, is only $239. And you know, nutrient survival and OUPES may not be happy that I say this, but I have to tell you what I really believe. If you were in the market to get any three of those products, either freeze-dry foods or a backup power supply or an RO system, the one I would get first and put it on my priority would be the RO system, because you need water to live. And if you're drinking water with poison in it, then you're just defeating the purpose. So that's the first one that I would get, is that if you have a priority of things that you need to get. And right now they're a great deal on those. So let's see. So Freebie Love asks, what do you think of the digital currency that they will be rolling out? I've talked about this in depth, several videos, you know, in the past. And what's going to happen is that we are going to have a serious crisis. We are going to have a serious crisis, or I was thinking about a second way that they can do it. But we're going to have a serious crisis, maybe within the monetary system, financial system, stock market, etc., where their solution to fix the problem that they created. And when I say they, I mean government and institutions that control the government. Their solution to fix the problem that they created would be, Mr. and Mrs. American citizen, if you take this digital currency, we're going to be able to fix this problem. And you know what? Just for you taking it, why don't we go ahead and give you a $2,000 credit on your new digital wallet? And tell me, ladies and gentlemen, how many people do you think are going to say no to that? When 77% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, they don't have $500 in the bank for an emergency. How many are going to say no? Especially if we're in the middle of a financial or economic crisis where most of them are hurting more than they normally are on an everyday basis, where they're just trying to keep food on the table and keep a roof over their family's head. How many people do you think would have said no to that during COVID? Oh, wait a minute. Not too many people said no to the stimulus checks during COVID. And guess what? We're paying for those stimulus checks right now. And we're going to continue to pay for those stimulus checks that we got during the COVID era for the rest of our lives. And so will our children, unless this monetary system doesn't change. So what do I think about it? I think that is coming. I think that they're already working on it and ready to implement it. And by the time that we get that crisis that we need, it's the Hegelian dialectic. They're going to create a crisis. They're going to see how we the people react. And then they're going to provide we the people a solution that will look like it's benefiting us, but it's really benefiting them. So there will be a digital currency. Unfortunately, with a digital currency, you're going to need a digital ID. Just like Bill Gates says, hey, I think we should have some kind of a biometric ID for people to log into the internet. All of that stuff is coming, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's written in the book anyways. It's coming. But the good news is that the faster it comes, the faster that the people will wake up to the fact that it's not freedom. And eventually we will get away from that system. We will get away from that. I'll say it once, beast system. We will get away from it once a majority of the people realize that it's a big mistake that we've made to allow them to get us into this system. So I think it's inevitable. I think it's coming no matter what we do. But we will get out of it eventually. We will have had enough. There will come a day where the people's voice will be heard, whether they want to hear it or not. Oh, did I miss something? The war is over? Let me know in all caps if the war is over, because if it is, I might have to get up and do a happy dance. First, I'd have to confirm. I don't know if that's in the law or not, that women are going to be drafted. And you know what? I don't know. I might lose a few subscribers over this, or a few community members. I don't believe that women should be drafted anywhere. I often get in trouble when I say things like this, but I believe that a strong nation, is a nation where the men fight to protect the women and the children. Women should be protected. Women and children should be protected, not sent to war. That's just my take on it. I do understand that there are some countries where, they don't have enough of a population where the women do have to actually engage in that kind of stuff. I understand that, but I believe wholeheartedly that we are supposed to be here to protect women and children. Men are supposed to be here to protect women and children. And we have no business sending our mothers and sisters and daughters to war. Anyone out there that's a father, any one of you out there that's a father, if you had a son and a daughter and they were both 18 years old and the government told you, you have to send one of those two, you have no choice. You have to send one of them to war. Who would you pick? I mean, it's a really easy answer for me. First of all, I would take their place if I could. But if the only choice was for you to send your son or your daughter to war, and you had no choice, you had to do one or the other, which ones would you pick, dads? You tell me. So it's an easy answer. Okay, let's see. How far behind am I? Oh my goodness. You see, I've been talking so much. I'm really far behind. Let's see. Remember, if you have any questions or comments that you want to share, make sure that you go ahead and put it on in caps so that I can catch it, okay? And let me say once again, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining in. You know, every time that I do one of these live streams, I tell myself, why don't I do more live streams? Because it's a lot of fun for me. But, you know, life gets in the way, okay? Let's see. Rudy, if the big one happens, everything is down, would you ration at the beginning, even if we have no comms to tell us exactly what's happening? I mean, I don't know. It depends on how long you are prepared for. It depends on your plan, right? So if things happen where things get so bad that we have no comms and we have no communications with the outside world perspective to where you're living, yeah, I would make sure that I would ration. I would make sure that I would, because I don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. That means that things are pretty darn bad. If pretty much wherever you live gets completely cut off from the rest of the world, go read the book 1 second after, or listen to the audio book. It's free on YouTube. 1 second after. If you get cut off like they did, pretty soon after they got cut off and they didn't know what was going on, it was within a day or two that people were looting all of the supermarkets. Right. So I would say, yeah, I would say that if I was completely cut off and there was no electricity and it just looked really bleak, probably up after about 3 or 4 days, if nothing's happened yet, if no one's turned the power back on, if you haven't gotten any news of what's happened, it's probably a smart thing to start to ration, depending on how much you have put away on in your preps. Hey, June is my birth month as well, XRP Queen. Oh, goodness. Yeah, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. We all remember that. And remember the other one? Never let a good crisis go to work. I mean, you hear that? Never let a good crisis go to work. Never let a good crisis go to waste. The older that I get, ladies and gentlemen, the more and more that you're going to have some content that you can laugh at my expense, of course. I mean, all we need to do is read the first liner here. They lied about the war. Can you tell us what war they haven't lied about? I mean, the Gulf of Tonkin, okay? The Gulf of Tonkin, Vietnam. We lost 58,000 Americans, all right? All on what? On a lie. And if you don't know what the Gulf of Tonkin incident is, it is the catalyst by which the administration, Johnson administration, told Congress in order to get Congress to authorize us to go to war with Vietnam. That's what the Gulf of Tonkin incident was and is. Well, unfortunately, it turns out, I mean, we found out 50 years later, it turns out that it never really happened. And 58,000 lives, American lives later. And I would say that the Vietnam War is probably the main reason why Nixon had to take us off the gold standard, right? But nonetheless, 58,000 lives, you know, on something that really we shouldn't have been there, because it was on a narrative that something that was said that happened that never really happened, right? And I'll explain to you, if you'd like, why it is that the Vietnam War is the reason why Nixon had to take us off the gold standard. Well, the Vietnam War was very, very costly. And during the Vietnam War, towards the beginning of the Vietnam War, all the way up to 1971 or so, we were on a gold standard. And the standard was defined by that every dollar that we had in circulation had to be backed up by 40% in gold. Well, in 1971 or 1970, 71, France said, hey, America, I don't know how in the world you're spending all of this money, because it doesn't make sense, because you don't have enough gold to back up all of this fiat currency, all of this currency. At that time, it was real currency because it has something tangible backing it up, gold. They say, hey, you don't have enough gold to back up all this money that you're printing. So I want my gold back. Let me get my gold back now before you don't give it to anyone, because you're not going to be able to. And therefore, you probably all know the rest of the story. If you don't learn about it, look it up. Then all these other countries were like, hey, you know what? It makes sense that France is saying that they don't have all the gold because they've spent all of this money, and we have to spend a lot of money for the Vietnam War. So all of the other countries started lining up saying, yeah, give me my gold, to the point where Nixon had to say, hey, we're going to have to shut the gold window. But you can trust America. You know, you can trust us, but we're going to have to shut the gold window. And from now on, you can just use these paper dollars. And we put our, you know, we put our good name behind it. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Hi, Rudy. My name is Noel. Hello, Noel. Do most towns in Alaska allow chickens and hogs? Any advice on purchasing property in Alaska? Excuse me. I'm sorry. So I can tell you that where I live in Fairbanks, pretty much you can have chickens anywhere. I mean, unless you live like an apartment complex. We do have apartment complexes, but there are plenty of places everywhere in Alaska where you can go out and live somewhere. For example, if you live in an area that has HOA, and I think that there maybe are a few small sections around here and there that they do have an HOA, which is, I don't know why people would want to do that, but I digress. But I would say that 99% of the places around here, you can have chickens and stuff like that. And what I would say is, if you want to buy land in Alaska because you want to homestead it, I would say just come on up for a summer, you know, for a couple of weeks, and then just travel through Alaska. There's a lot of land up here. If you want to live completely off grid, there's a lot of land that the state sells at a pretty reasonable price. Even if you live out of state, it's pretty reasonable price, you know, compared to other states that I've heard of. So, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the chance that you're taking is that you may not like it after a year or two, because usually after 1 or 2 winters, people that weren't meant to live here, they usually leave. You know, I say that the cold weather or the harsh weather conditions in Alaska is what keeps out the riffraff. And what I mean by that is that if you weren't meant to be in Alaska and live in Alaska, you're going to leave after a winter or two. So that's the one thing that I would recommend, is that if you really feel like you want to move up here, I don't know, make it to where you rent something for the first year, so that you know for a fact that you want to stay here before you commit 100%. Hey, that's not bad. $398. That's a little bit cheaper than what it is here. Hey guys, listen, I respect your opinion. I really do. I respect everyone's opinion, but please don't put stuff in the comments that can get one of the YouTube moderators to shut down my live stream. All right. I respect everyone's opinions. I understand your point of view, but don't put stuff on the comments that's, because YouTube does throw a moderator out now and then, and they'll shut down my live stream. And I don't agree with that, right? I don't agree with that. I agree with freedom of speech, but it's just the game that you have to play with YouTube if you want to be able to, you know, do what you want to do as far as this goes. Let's see. Okay, I'm bringing it down. Really, that's surprising that 60% of USA rice comes from we import 60% of US rice. No way. Are you serious? Let me see something here. I'm fact checking you. Let's see. Okay, as a share of domestic use consumption, U.S. market, this figure is higher. I think it says here that we only import about 15%. Let me see. Oh, and then it said that in 2025 and 2026 is going to be about 25%. But I mean, that's still a lot. 25% is an awful lot to import of your total consumption. Hey, look at there. There's Becky. Becky's probably not even on anymore. Hey, Becky, I've got a pretty good deal for you on powdered eggs from Nutrient Survival. Here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and put this on. That way Becky knows that I told her that this was going to be one of the first things that I talk about, and it took me 45 minutes before I got to it. But for those of you that haven't gone here, check the link for Nutrient Survival in the description of my videos. And this is a great deal. You get a free can of powdered milk if you buy a can of powdered eggs, which are, and it's not even my opinion. I don't even go out there on a limb and say that Nutrient Survival powdered eggs are the best in the markets. And you know why? There's two reasons why. Because they taste like eggs, most important, and they're full of nutrition. It's not wasted calories. But hey, good to see you, Becky. Thanks for hanging out. Let's see, Tammy, how you doing, Tammy? I asked, never got a response. If a countertop RO would work without power, will it? No, it will not. A countertop RO needs power, but that's why you need to get a backup power system like an OUPES. However, you can get something like this, because those countertop RO systems, they don't require a lot of power. They require, like, I don't know, 100 and like 60 watts. You can get something as small as this. A little battery backup right here. That's 150 watts. That'll power it with no problem. Okay, no problem. Or you can get a small OUPES, like the Mega One is like $299, and that'll power an RO system. If that's all you use it for, probably for 1 month or more, easily. Obviously, depending on how much you use it. But they do require power. And I agree with this, Sylvia. Potable aqua water purification tablets have no expiration. I'm not sure if that is a fact or not, right? I do have some water purification tablets. However, even if I was using water purification tablets, I would still put that water through an RO system or some kind of filtration system before I consumed it. Redundant. When it comes to water, ladies and gentlemen, redundancy should be a given. You should be redundant. So let's say, for example, that I had no water. And here there's water everywhere. It's not potable. In the winter, I have water outside in the form of snow. No problem. So let's say with snow, let's say in the winter, something happened. There's no water. I have to survive on melting snow in order to make it into water. When that snow turns into water, I'm not just going to put it through a filter. Okay? I'm going to boil it first. First, I'm going to boil it, and then I'm going to maybe drop in a little bit of chlorine or some of my water purification tablets after I boil it. Then after that, I'm going to put it through a gravity filter so it can capture most of the stuff. And then after that, I'll throw it through my RO system. Why? Because too much is not too much when it comes to water. You need water to live. So if I take 2 or 3 or even 4 steps to make sure that that water is going to be perfect as far as it comes to drinking it, and it's not going to get me sick, then that's what I have to do. Because if it comes to a point where you need to melt your own snow, or where you need to get your own water and purify it because the systems are not operational, then more than likely there's not going to be an emergency room open for you to visit in case you consume some bad water. So why take the risk? Let's see. I heard this as well through the grapevine. I don't know what the validity of it is, but I heard it through the grapevine that the government commandeered or bought, all of the potassium dioxide pills for your thyroid in case there's some kind of a nuclear exchange. I'm glad some of you agree with me that women shouldn't be drafted. Yeah, they upped the men's age. I think it used to be 42, and they upped it to 44, if that's correct. Let me see. You're putting me on the spot here, Joanne. What is the least expensive water filter that would make large amounts of rainwater safe for drinking? If you are on an extreme budget, okay, I'm going to give you two things, but then one of them is not really that inexpensive because the filters are a little pricey. But if you are on an extreme budget, go to SIMPURE, and I've used this before. That's why I'm telling you, I've used this product before. If you have a very small budget, go to SIMPURE, and they sell a gravity fed system that has I think it's a 5-liter bag that you can fill up, and it will gravity feed through a filter. I've used that before, and it works very well. And I used it without boiling the water or anything like that. All right. And it works very, very well. So if you're in an extreme budget, the cheapest that I've used that will do the job is that little system right there. A Sawyer Mini as well works. The only problem that I have with the Sawyer Minis is that the older that they get, in my experience, the older that they get, then the slower that the water filters through it. I just had that experience with them, right? But like I said, go check out SIMPURE. They've got a whole bunch of different water filtration systems. Now, if you want to get something that's RO water, that's an actual gravity filter, Zero Water, you can find it on Amazon. I think it's on my Amazon storefront. But look for a Zero Water. It's like a pitcher that has a big filter. And I'll tell you what, that thing is awesome. The only problem with that is that those filters are only good for about 50 gallons of water. Okay. That's the only problem with them. And they average, I think, about $10 or $15 per filter. So even though that filter is giving you RO water, in an emergency, it may be worth you using, $15, $20 filters for 50 gallons of water. But what I say is this: get a water filtration system that you use every day, not just for emergencies. Okay. So I think that a water filtration system should be at the top, very top of your priority list. Sorry, Becky. I told them that they should get a water filtration system before they do anything else if they don't have their preps. But that's how I feel. An RO system, in my opinion, is the only way to go in order for you to be sure that you're drinking and your family is drinking clean water. The book series was written about my town. Is that Black Rock? The Lamb? The Lamb is the Light. Is that Black Rock, North Carolina? I think I remember the name of the town, Black Rock. You're talking about 1 second after, right? Hey, 100% agree with you. Everyone ought to know how to use a firearm. Everyone. It ought to be taught in school. And remember, it used to be taught in school. It used to be. You used to be able to go buy a 22 caliber at the 5 and 10 store or at the 5 and dime store, right? But we've come a long way since then, and I'm not really saying we've come a long way in a good way. I think it's the opposite of that. Let's see. I'm bringing it down. Let's see. How far behind am I now? Okay, I'm only 15 minutes behind, ladies and gentlemen. So if you asked a question within 15 minutes ago, I'm getting to it. I don't know what's significant about September. I don't know what you've heard. I don't know. Hey, Scott, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man. Yeah, I don't see why not. Cindy asked if dry ice would be a good option to keep things cool if the power went out. Absolutely. The thing is unless you have a supply of dry ice readily available for a power outage, then how are you going to get it if there's a power outage and your local Walmart or whatever it may be may not be selling anything because there's a power outage? So that's something you may want to think about also. Don't worry, Lily. Lily asked if the internet goes out, the digital currency won't be available. Don't worry about it, because if when we do get into a digital currency, that's going to be the last of our worries, is if the power goes out. Because our real worries should be all of the freedoms that they'll be able to take from us that are on those digital currencies. That's the really big worry, the real big thing that we should be worried about. And the main reason why we should deny a digital currency. And it's not going to come from the government. They've already got that covered. President Trump said there will be no CBDC as long as he's president. I believe him 100%. But the problem is that they've already worked a workaround there not being CBDCs, right? And they're doing a great job. The Genius Act did a great job at ensuring that President Trump did not lie about us not having a CBDC. Right now, there's another one that they have to pass in order for it to come all together. I don't believe it's passed yet, but it's coming together. How do we get the milk for free with the eggs? If you buy a can of eggs at Nutrient Survival, you'll get a free can of milk right there. You get the can of milk with the can of eggs. If you're asking what do you have to do in order for it to be in your cart, just go ahead and put it in your cart. Put the eggs in your cart and put the can of milk in your cart, and it shouldn't charge you for the milk. It should be for free. And use my coupon for, I think it's for 10% off. Use it to see if it works, even with that deal. Where's Lulu? Lulu is over here taking a nap on my chair. Where do I get the link? It's in the description of my videos. Just go to the description and you'll see Nutrient Survival. Just click on that and it'll take you right to that. Oh, you know what? Just a second. My bad. Ladies, I'm glad that you asked me that. Just a second. I messed up. Sorry about that, Becky. Let me go ahead and get you guys that link. Goodness gracious. I'm such a ding-dong sometimes. Because I was given a special link for that. All right, give me a second. Man, I feel like a dummy. That's because I probably am a dummy. Let's see. Right here. I'm going to put the link up right now here on the chats. Here's the link for the eggs, man. Boom. There's the link for the eggs, ladies and gentlemen, with the free milk. I apologize. And I'm going to go ahead and put it let me do it right now before I forget. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the description of this video right now. That way I don't forget. There you go. Let me save that real quick. Boom. There we go. You know, thank you very much to whoever asked me that, because it woke me up. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and include it in my next few videos and put it up on a pinned comment and stuff, or in the description. That way you guys can get to it. But go ahead and use that link that I left. Let's see. Lily says, I would love to live in Alaska. I have to tell you the truth, ladies and gentlemen. I love living here. I love it here. I can't be going anywhere. Oh man, Becky, you're in trouble. Shan says the codes aren't valid on the egg and milk bundle. No double dipping here. All right. Well, hey, listen, it's a great deal, anyways. So I think it's a good deal. I would take advantage if I didn't have like a 5-year supply of that stuff already. I mean, you should see under my bed. I've got a whole bunch of nutrient survival egg powder because I'm diabetic and I eat 99% of what I eat is all protein. As a matter of fact, when I'm done here, I'm going to be cooking me a ribeye that has been dry aging in the fridge for the last 2 days. So I'll be eating that. But eggs is a great source of protein, and I have to say that the nutrient survival eggs are the best. I just got back from a trip to Fairbanks. I loved it. Oh, that's awesome. If you come to Fairbanks, you ought to do it like in the middle of winter, because that's when the auroras are the nicest. Yes, it is the coldest, but the auroras are awesome. All right, well, let's see. Black Mountain, North Carolina. There you go, man. I'll tell you what, I love that book. I read the book first, and then after I found that they had an audio book, I got that, and I probably listened to that thing almost 100 times. The most heartbreaking part, and 1 second after, is when oh my God, am I forgetting her name? When his little daughter passed away. That was terrible, terrible. Let's see. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, we know where to come for scrambled eggs. You got it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been on for almost an hour and a half. If any of you have any last questions, let me know. Put it all in caps, and I'll be very happy to stay on for a few more minutes. But I am kind of hungry because I haven't really eaten today. I did eat a little bit of pork grinds that I had earlier today. I was cleaning out my vehicle, and I saw, I forgot that I had a half of a bag of pork grinds in there that I left in there like a week ago. So I said, "Hey, let me get these." Let's see. Let's see. Jonaida, how are you doing? Good to see you, Jonaida. How's the baby doing? For those of you that don't know, Jonaida, I just had a baby not too long ago, right? Baby boy. You're moving back to the DR, really? Hey, there you go. If you can do it, not bad. Not bad if you can do it. But before I sign off, Jonaida, let us know how the baby's doing. Put it all in caps. That way I can make sure to catch it. Can you can whole wheat berries in their original pack with oxygen absorbers? If I was going to package them in their original bags with oxygen absorber, no. Uh, I mean, it depends what bags you're talking about. I mean, what kind of bags do they come in? If I bought a 50-pound bag of wheat berries, I would definitely repackage them in Mylar bags or in 5-gallon buckets, and I would definitely put in oxygen absorbers, right? Because that's going to ensure that if there's any microscopic bugs on those wheat berries, that they won't ruin the product. Okay. So, or you can also take the 5-gallon bucket or the bag or whatever and put it in a deep freezer for like 72 hours or for a week or something like that. That'll kill the bugs too. But then the problem that you run into using cold to kill the bugs is that when you let the wheat berries or the beans or the rice come back to room temperature, if it comes up to room temperature too fast, it can build a little bit of condensation. And if you package it with some condensation, some moisture, that could also affect the product as well. So I would just do it the easy way. I would just use oxygen absorbers. It ensures that there's no bugs living in there because there's no oxygen. And then it's also going to ensure that the product lasts, man, 25, 30, probably 40 years or more, I would say. I have no idea what you're talking about right here. I really don't. Hey, the redneck prepper is in the house. What's up? How you doing, brother? When I was growing up, I played a little bit of baseball and I played football. That's about it. What brand is my refrigerator? I don't know. It's one of those Chinese ones, I think. Medea, Midea, Medea. Yeah, that refrigerator I have is great. It only runs on like 60, 65 watts whenever the compressor's on. And then for startup, it's like less than 200 watts startup. And then it runs on like 60, 65 or so watts. It really doesn't consume a lot of energy at all. And I've had it for, I don't know, 6-7 months now, and it works great. Oh, there you go, United. We are doing great. The baby is big and healthy. Ah, that's awesome. Did you already baptize him? Did you take him back to the DR to baptize him? You don't have to keep answering my questions, United. Yeah, absolutely. Air is not the same as oxygen. Yeah, you want to get all the oxygen out of that bag or out of that container that you can. And that's what, and you know what? Oxygen absorbers, just in case you don't know, the lamb is the light. Oxygen absorbers are very inexpensive. They don't cost a lot. And whenever I used to, like put something away and use oxygen absorbers, a lot of times I would overdo it by a lot because they're just not that expensive and it's a little extra security. What do you think about groundhog for food? I guess if you're hungry enough, you'll eat anything, to tell you the truth, but I've never had it before. It's a rodent, so it's got meat, so I don't see where you would go wrong as far as not being good for you. Yes, the last I knew, YouTube has 1 second after the audiobook, and you don't have to pay for it. The last I knew, I don't know if it's been copyrighted since then or not, but the last I knew, it does. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in. I really appreciate you all coming and joining in tonight on this Thursday night. I hope that you have a good rest of your week. And look, I used to do this every Friday because I had a Friday live stream almost every week. But since tomorrow is Friday, let's do a little bit of a safety speech. Make sure you don't drink and drive. Go out there and have a great time this Friday and this weekend. Enjoy yourselves because you deserve it. But don't do something that's going to give you a minute or two of fun and then cost you the rest of your life, or worse, cost someone else their lives because you just weren't responsible. There's Lyft, there's Uber, there's cabs, there's friends, there's family that you can call in order to get home safe. So have a great time the rest of this week and this weekend. Hopefully I'll have another video out or so sometime in the next couple of days. And who knows, I had so much fun today that maybe I'll do another live stream, maybe on Saturday evening or Sunday. We'll see though. Don't hold me on that. So having said that, I want to say thank you again. And I really want to tell you that I appreciate every single one of you and all of your support. I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate you all clicking on my videos and listening to me rant on and say, okay, all right, 1,000 times. So I do appreciate every one of you. So God bless every one of you. I love you all. Remember that. God bless America. Remember to go ahead and take advantage of the deals that Nutrient Survival has going on, along with OUPES and SIMPURE for your RO systems. All right. And let me say that I am Alaska Prepper, and I am, just a second, I got to push end, out. God bless you all. Bye.